So Davante Adams is unhappy with his role with the Raiders. Apparently, his head coach is liking posts online where it says that he's going to be traded. Davante Adams says they haven't talked since. And now you see teams apparently lining up to potentially trade for the star wide receiver. Craig Carton on his morning show called Breakfast Ball on FS1 said that the Jets have already made an offer. Should the Commanders make a play for Davante Adams?
Nope, not interested. Sorry. He's a great player. Unbelievable, like the last, 5 of the last 6 years? Maybe. I mean,
why wouldn't you
career's
want
remarkable.
JD throwing to Davante instead of Noah Brown?
He's already 32.
That's all right.
All right. I think he's owed on his contract $35 million the next 2 years.
That's fine. It's not your money.
It's not that it's not my money. It's just that it's going to bust up everything.
They got pleplenty of money to spend.
His cap hit is 44-1 over the next 2 years.
They got plenty of money to spend.
$44 million.
We actually don't need him.
He can help you.
He could help.
He would make your offense better.
Potentially. Sure. He's a great player.
Yeah.
He's a great player.
That's what I mean.
But why mess up the mojo? Why mess up the mojo? We're averaging 30 points a game. That's not the problem. If he could stop the run, I'd sign him.
But it doesn't mean they're going to average 30 points a game the rest of the week, the rest of the year. They might score, 17 this week.
I'm going to take over to 17.
And might have issues down the road scoring points. We don't know.
Yeah, he's too old.
An aging wideout, you're going to part with draft capital. Like I wouldn't want to part with a second or third round pick. You
wouldn't want to give up a third round pick?
I mean,
you're not giving that much up with a third round pick.
I just have a hard time parting with the capital and paying him that amount of money.
All right, the money is one thing, but if it's just a third round pick,
I would rather have had
and maybe
Ayuk, probably.
All right,
because Ayuk's younger, right?
Yeah, well, you probably would have had to give up more.
Yeah, I would have rather had Ayuk than this guy.
I think the Chiefs should be interested.
Definitely. The Chiefs should be interested. I don't know whether the Raiders are going to deal in their division, but if it's the best deal, they might.
I guess the Jets are interested. I guess that's the report that the Jets have put up an offer for Davante.
Are you buying what Boomer was saying on his show? Boomer was saying that there's definitely an issue with Salah and Aaron
Rodgers.
Yeah,
we talked about it yesterday. Yeah. Cakes believes they hate each other.
Yeah, I mean, Boomer says he just walks right by him. Right. He says, "I know it when I see it." He said, "I played for 2 coaches where I couldn't stand the
Rodgers guys. Claims that they're good, but I mean that could just be obviously him being a diplomat and trying to smooth things over and not have it blow up into something bigger.
If there is a real rift, would they try to appease him and bring in Davante?
They might. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has a lot of clout in that building. Mm-hmm. And if he stumps hard enough for it, I mean, I'm sure they're going to listen to him about it.
Would you make a trade for a different position?
Yeah, like maybe
like a corner,
stop the run or something.
A corner, or maybe a
great pass
rusher. Yeah, an edge rusher.
Maybe, yeah. I'm just saying, right now we're scoring 30 points a game, and he's an older receiver.
It's a luxury.
Yeah, it's a luxury item. That's
okay.
I would. Agree with that.
I didn't know like if you just.
I don't think we're like some sort of perfect team. I just think he's an aging receiver. He's owed a ton of money.
Right, plus Adam Peters is looking. He looks at the landscape and says, "Well, I can draft a receiver in the first or second round of the upcoming draft, and that's not going to help me now. And I'll have that guy on a controlled salary, much lower than $30+ million for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to draft Davante Adams? Most likely not.
That's fine. I'm just taking the other side of it.
Yeah.
And he makes your offense better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the money owed to him is a lot of money. Maybe you could get the Raiders to cover some of it. And I wouldn't trade a first-round pick for him.
No, absolutely not.
Second rounder, I would probably have to ponder that. I'm sure the best offer the Raiders going to get is going to involve a second rounder.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was just a third rounder, I got no problem.
According to Schefter, the Raiders' asking price for Adams is a package that would include a second-round pick and additional compensation.
Right.
Right now, your top 6 teams in salary cap space for this season are the Niners, Browns, Patriots, Lions, Raiders, Commanders.
They're 6th. Mm-hmm.
Commanders coming at 6 to $25.4 million in cap space.
What about if they take the bulk of the salary. Let's say if you offer a second and they're willing to take the bulk of the salary.
Well, why would they do that? Just to get the pick?
just to
Sure,
get the
man.
pick because they've
Okay, we could talk about that.
There you go.
If you're not going to hamstring us salary cap wise, do they actually even do that in the NFL? I know they do that in baseball and
Yeah,
in
sure.
basketball. Do they do that in the NFL a lot? Where teams will.
think-
I'm sure they can.
I think so.
Hmm.
Pretty sure that's how.
No, then I would consider it. Sure.
I'm pretty sure that's how the Ravens acquired Roquan. Is that they
The Bears took.
yeah.
So listen, if they want to pay 20 of the 40 million, sure, then we could talk.
So he sat out this last game, right, with a hamstring issue.
Is it like a fake hamstring issue?
That's
Is that
what I'm wondering.
that's
I'm
the
wondering if he's like the
insinuation?
tight hamstring.
Yeah.
And you know what? That hamstring's gonna be tight too when he looks across the field at Patrick Surtain, their opponent, Denver in Week 5. He's gonna be like, you know what? I don't want to go out and get donutted by that guy.
It's like
Yeah.
the
You
video.
love Patrick Surtain.
well,
I know he's excellent.
he's probably the top 2 or 3 corner in the league.
He
He's a
is.
stud.
He is
It's the
very good.
reason Denver gave him like $25 million a year in
So,
an extension.
I'm guessing that
Davante Adams is a stud. Here's what I would say: if you can get him on the cheap, I'm not worried about the chemistry. And if
Well,
let's say they win again this week, which we expect them to win, right? Now you're 4-1, right? Go for it. Go for it. Not just playoffs, like strengthen your team. Like you have a team that can contend, make a run. You can add a weapon like that.
Then you could really brag about the weapons, EB. Oh,
I mean, I don't know why.
That's the
Weapons,
one-
our current weapons are averaging
I know, but
30
that-
a game.
but
30.
that
We just
you'd
put a
have
40 burger up on them last
But
week.
if you now to play the
Okay,
other
but
side,
they
if
weren't
you
the
have
first 2
McLaurin
weeks.
And Davante Adams, you could legitimately brag about the weapons. Just look at all these weapons: Davante Adams, Terry
Yeah,
McLaurin.
You have to admit that your timetable has changed. Remember about development
Right,
and
I mean,
you know,
not
we're not going to be
really.
competitive until maybe year 3.
Not, not
I mean,
really.
what if
'cause
you
I
think
actually
that-
don't have grand thoughts, but I just like it's
So if you
amazing
think-
to watch right now.
If you think they can win the division this year,
I don't.
because based on how everything's kind of playing out,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't want to add Davante Adams to an offense in the playoffs. Alright.
If
I
they
mean,
would
there are
absorb
60
the salary,
There is 64% chance of making
Hey,
the playoffs.
You know what?
Yeah.
Right
Going back a few months, probably, I kind of scoffed at Quinn and Peters when they used the term, "Hey, we're not rebuilding, we're recalibrating." They might have been onto something.
well,
'Cause-
because the Jaden, it's all because of Jaden.
Oh, of course, because
The Jaden
it's hidden.
Daniels
That pick is hidden.
growth it has blown people. Like his
Yeah.
just after even week 1 was fine, but it was just kind of modest. But it's just grown exponentially since. I mean, no, I don't think anybody could have seen it.
No.
Could you have seen a performance like that on Monday Night Football, and then backs it up with a 40 burger?
Pretty damn good.
I mean,
The
it's
early returns are
amazing.
in, and they're very
I
positive.
don't know. Everyone was telling us he's this good. Everybody should have listened.
Zach
Well,
Ertz said it. We started to say it towards the end of preseason. We're like, this kid must be as good as advertised. Everyone, they won't stop. No one says anything negative.
But back to do you go for it with a guy like Davante Adams out there by trading for him? Here's where the numbers are. And if you want to chime in, 800-636-1067. I saw Nick Wright tweeted this out a few days ago.
All right.
How valuable is division lead after 4 weeks? So they're atop the division. They're atop the NFCs. Since 2016, if you're a division leader in week 4, you win the division 68% of the time.
It's pretty good.
And you make the playoffs 77% of the time.
That's a real sweat. That's a legit
That's since
playoff
2016.
sweat.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost 10 years. Look, worth the data. So division lead in week 4, again, win the division 68% of the time, make the playoffs 77% of the time.
I mean, Houston basically just did this with Stroud and Diggs.
Yep.
Now you're able to make the window even bigger by picking them up right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you also factor in you've got your stud quarterback on a very controlled salary.
Yeah.
Like that factors in too.
Why can't we just pick up a premier like top corner on a bad team?
Well, you could do that too.
You probably could.
I mean, I don't know if
Maybe a guy who's going to be a free agent.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't. It's not like I've looked at the
I don't know if the
landscape
Jets
of
are ready to just deal you Sauce Gardner all of a sudden just because they're
it. Well, no, they're still in the
flailing,
mix. They
but-
think they're in the mix.
Yeah.
especially if they trade for Davante.
But if somebody's being dangled out there that Peters likes, I'm sure he'll entertain a phone call.
All right, let's
At
bang
least
on a couple of
listen.
these calls. I know we got to go to break. Let's bang on a couple of these. Let's go to Tyler in Crofton. Tyler, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, boys? Hope you're having a good day.
Yeah, man.
Thanks,
what's up?
man.
I just want to point something out to EB. I know that you guys are averaging 40 points a game and
No,
and
30.
so high on the
30.3.
30.3, third in the
Sorry.
NFL.
We know
Sorry.
the exact number.
Third in the NFL.
Sorry. However, just 5 weeks ago, this team was turning over rocks looking for receivers like Martavius Bryant to have an impact on this team. And now EB's out here saying that they don't need an all-pro future Hall of Fame wide receiver. I mean, I'm sorry. If you think that this team doesn't need more weapons to surround Jaden with, you're more confused than Joe Biden trying to get off the stage, dude. Come on.
Look,
Oh,
you
it's
know,
coming down to
Terrible,
you
terrible
know
zing.
EB's brand. His brand is he loves the weapons.
That's
his brand.
I was hyping up Oz. I've been hyping up the backups.
What about chemistry? Do you think it could affect chemistry?
I don't know. I don't know what kind of guy he is.
Yes, it definitely could.
But I think Terry's a pro. He can handle anything. I wouldn't really worry about
Because
that.
You know what?
here's why it could upset the chemistry. And I'm not saying it would happen, but when you bring in a star receiver, you want to feed him. Like this has been a discussion with Josh Allen
Mhm.
that he's been freed up because he doesn't have to force it to Stephon Diggs. So Davante Adams shows up, there might be pressure on the quarterback to feed him
Right.
and not necessarily go through progressions, and maybe Jaden ends up forcing it. So it could affect
And from the
chemistry.
Davante Adams side, if you're picking your spot, you want to pick an old creaky quarterback and Aaron Rodgers, who maybe has 14 games left, however many are left in this season. I don't see him playing beyond this season, or a young ascending stud that's playing in his first season. I think that choice would be pretty easy. I would think.
Yeah, I
Even
mean
though
that's
he's got
good.
history with Aaron Rodgers.
That's a
like,
good point. That's where his
he
comfort
looks at Aaron
level is.
Rodgers and says, "There's not a lot of sand left in that hourglass."
But next year, he's probably gonna. He doesn't know who the quarterback's gonna be next year.
I thought
It's
Aaron
probably not-
said he was planning to play 2 more years.
Well, he can
Well,
say
I mean, yeah.
he can say whatever he
Yeah,
wants.
he can say that, but do you think his
It doesn't
body's going to hold up?
It
for that
doesn't
I
look
don't
like
know.
he could play 2 more.
I don't know. Chris, what's up?
Ever since Danny Boy left town, things here have been going pretty good.
Yeah.
And pretty good needs to continue. And trading for a 32-year-old wide receiver who's going to be 33 next season with all that salary makes 0 sense.
I'm
We
kind
have
of with
so
you.
many draft picks next year. Just if you want a wide receiver, find the youngest one, trade for that guy. We have so much cap room. You're going to throw $32 million on it. We need to buy a defense this offseason because we're going to want to come here now. So I don't know. I can't trade for a 32-year-old wide receiver.
What if they picked up like $20 million of his salary though?
You're gonna have. It's still Davante Adams. They're not going to take used parts. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to give up something that's pretty good here right now. That's
No,
probably
say a
younger.
second round pick. A second round pick and like Fedarian Mathis or something.
Just a throw in.
I guess maybe a second rounder. I mean, because you're gonna have to give that up if you really want to move up in the first round. You're gonna have to bundle a bunch to like move up to get the number one dude, if that's the plan. But I want to preserve all that money for defensive spending. Like that's the only way you're gonna get the defense where it really needs to be. I think last week was an apparition, but I think the offense definitely can go.
I would just say this:
Aberration.
Davante Adams had 22 touchdowns in the last 2 years. All right, so at age 31 and 32, he had 22 touchdowns.
It's pretty good.
I don't think the age is that big of a factor. And remember, Terry McLaurin has 1 year left on his contract
Mhm.
after this year.
If Peters really is cooking, all right, if he's a GM that can cook, he'll
Yep.
take that. He'll take that Dotson trade pick and use it to parlay it into Adams.
Oh,
Now that is GM
that's
cooking right
called
there.
upgrading. Massive upgrade if that's the case.
What did they get for Dotson? A third rounder?
Third rounder.
Third round.